The Cleveland pitching factory was back in a big way in 2025, and the Guardians need to improve their hitting. So naturally, everybody thinks the Guardians should trade pitching for hitting. But who would they dangle? We'll talk about that, if they should, and who they would target.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a Thank God It's Friday edition of Locked On Guardians, our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's yours as well, because for the next 30 minutes, we're talking your Cleveland Guardians. From the majors, the minors, the draft, everything in between, the only daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians that does that. Proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm one of your two co-hosts, Justin Lada. Proud to say I've been here with my friend and co-host, Jeff Ellis, for the last 3 years. And I've also spent 18 years covering the Guardians minor league system as a prospect writer, editor-in-chief, and analyst, and many other roles.
As you mentioned, I'm Jeff Ellis. I've been here since the start of Locked On's Baseball Podcast Network. Before that, my credentials are I was a national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. A big shout out to all of our everydayers. Shout out to Carl Leiser. Sorry, I butchered your name. You had a very kind comment today. And I don't feel like, even though I see you in there a lot, I don't know if I've given you your proper shout out yet. So I wanted to do that. We got a lot of great questions. I know it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's, we'll dive in.
We got a lot to dive in. Yes, it is a mailbag edition of the show. Shout out to all of our insiders, too, who gave us some great questions, including Carl, who is one of our insiders, too. We'll talk about some early offseason targets, trades, free agents, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about the nature of coaching versus talent and what matters more. Talk about if this front office and the ownership should be aggressive this offseason. I think the short answer ever in the comments everyone's going to give is interesting. But we'll start today's show off with one of my favorite questions is the conundrum of the Guardians should trade pitching for hitting. Well, who should they trade? Who should they target? It's going to be a fun episode, so make sure you tune into the whole thing. And before we get going, today's episode of Locked On Guardians, of course, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. So this one comes from Henry, one of our insiders, and he asks, should the Guardians, assuming free agency is out, which starting pitcher do you dangle and package in trade talks to land an impact bat? I know when we talked about this, Jeff, your inflection point was kind of impact bat. That's how you were going to frame the question. So you had a very specific answer on what that looks like if you're taking the impact bat thing literally.
Yeah, if I'm looking at an impact bat, I'm assuming borderline all-star. I'm assuming middle lineup hitter. If you're going to get that, you only have one pitcher who's going to net that. And there's two problems too. Like, let's be very honest before I get to that. One, a team that wants to acquire your starting pitching isn't trading their impact bats. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, typically you get, you trade prospects to get that because teams are trying to contend. So it's always hard to make that work, which is one of those disconnects every year we talk about. Like, teams aren't looking to make themselves worse in one area to get better in another necessarily. But the second part is, if you're talking impact, Gavin Williams is the only guy who's going to net you anything in terms of impact. Now, I'm not saying just those other guys aren't tradable. I think they are. Every one of them are valuable trade assets. We've had people say they should cut Logan Allen after our 40-man discussions. I'm like, no, dude has value. Like, if you cut him, if you didn't roster him, there'd be 29 other teams lined up to add him after what he did this last year. So I think everyone has value, but I think if you're looking for an impact bat, it'd have to be a team that is desperate for pitching. I'd really have to look at it. Who has a preponderance? I mean, I don't know. It's like, could you trade maybe a Gavin Williams for like a Brent Rooker or Lawrence Butler after the down years those guys had? Like, I don't know. You're probably looking at more something like that with maybe a team where they are starting to crest. But then again, if you're Oakland, do you really want 3 years of Williams? Is that how much is left? Is it 4 years or 3 years? When he's got Boris as an agent, so there's a 0% chance he's going to sign. So even that it's kind of hard to navigate to find those matches. There's a reason why those type of trades just don't happen. Like, when is the last time we saw two marquee players with years of control traded for each other? I'm sure, comment below, because I know I'm forgetting because I'm on the spot, but like, let me know if you remember what that is. Like, it's something that doesn't happen. Like, you're not going to get marquee for marquee.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of major league for major league trades. That's the hard part, I think, about all this. And yeah, you have to find the team where you line up, right? A team that really needs pitching and a team that's got hitters to spare, because trading hitting is one thing, but you actually have to have extra hitters to spare. To kind of talk about at least two, like I think you're 100% right. It's Gavin is going to be the guy that nets you the most. I think Tanner and Gavin are 1A and 1B, and you can flip them either way.
The down year in the contract will make teams nervous because
I don't think the contract makes anybody nervous because it's a very good contract. It's not a lot of money. It's costy.
Yeah, but teams get weary with guaranteed money coming off a mixed year. Like you're just not going to get. You're not going to get as much for him in a trade right now. Like you're just not, because
but the contract does add value to his trade value. So I still think that puts him up there. Now, Gavin obviously has.
Year? I mean, I guess that's the question. Is 2 more year worth?
Two more years
at higher cost.
Well, Gavin's a free agent after 2029. Tanner cannot be a free agent until, I believe, at the earliest, 2032. I'm sorry, it's actually the same year. So they're both here for the same amount of years. It's just Tanner got that extra year of service time because of his. So that Tanner and Gavin have the same amount of club control remaining. But the thing is, remember, if Gavin keeps pitching well, his value goes up in arbitration. So you'd either be
trading for him. You want that?
Well, yeah. Well, no, because it depends on who you're trading with. If you're trading for a team like the Athletics,
you want him to pitch well. If you're trading for him, you want him to pitch well. If he's going to pitch well,
you do. But if you're also keeping cost in mind, Tanner is also. It just depends on who you're trading with, who you're giving up, and who's making the trade. I think that factors in. The guy that's, to me, is the clear number 3 in all this is Joey Cantillo. If you're not willing to trade Gavin or Tanner, which they shouldn't be at this offseason, not given the trajectory they're on, to me, I think Cantillo has the third best stuff out of everybody in the system, and I'd be very weary trading him. I know you're going to say he hasn't proven enough.
Yeah.
But my point is, I think he has the most upside still left, and he's also kind of, I don't want to say he's figured it out, but you can kind of see the puzzle pieces started to assemble for him down the stretch. And if you get a team that buys in on that, that carries a lot of value, and he's left-handed. I'm just saying, I think for an upside play, he has the most value behind those two.
You can make a case for Messick as well because there's more control and it's a safer floor. I think the thing with Cantillo is, again, teams.
But what have we found out, Jeff? The same problem Cleveland's had over the last couple of years is they've had too many safe floor guys. Nobody's interested in them.
Yeah, but no one's going to buy a month. Like Cantillo had a month until it's like a longer.
Parker Messick had a month. He wasn't even up as long as.
I know, but Messick has been a little more consistent in terms of his growth through the minors and what kind of what that player is. No one's going. I don't think Cantillo is getting you anywhere close to an impact. I'm not even sure he nets you a proven bat because he's not a proven arm. Like I love his stuff. I've always thought that. Like,
let's kind of talk through real quickly, like who are we talking about here? Because I'm trying to find teams who I know need pitching in 2026, and I think that's the hard part for all of this is who needs pitching and who has hitting to spare. Like that's the number one criteria is who do you match up with the most?
I don't think there's a lot of teams because nowadays is a lot easier to develop pitchers than hitters. We're seeing it across baseball. Teams are pulling up young. So it's like I don't think a lot of teams.
Well, because you're just stockpiling arms.
Yeah,
you know they're going to get hurt,
and
everybody throws 100.
And they're better at developing them and giving them pitches and it's why Jonah Tongs and Peyton Tolles 2 years after being drafted are top 50 prospects. Like it's about traits that you can fix. It's like I think you're getting 50 cents on the dollar when you trade a pitcher for a hitter.
I mean, pitchers are more valuable because everyone needs starting pitching and they also get hurt. But everyone's trying to stockpile pitching. So the best, if you're talking about truly, if it depends on your definition of an impact bat, which I think yours is right, it really depends on who you're giving up. I mean, there are some interesting scenarios. All right, we'll talk a little bit more through this. And we'll also talk about if this offseason is the time for Cleveland to be aggressive, if it's possible, coming up in the rest of today's Lockdown Guardians. The NFL season is well underway. Things are weird. Quarterbacks are hurt. But FanDuel, they are here for you. They never take it off. They have an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, if you're a new customer, you could bet just $5 and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if you win. I got to be honest, I don't know how much longer this offer is going to be around. I think it'll be around at the end of the month is what we're hearing, but I don't really know for sure. But this is the best offer we've seen from FanDuel where you can get $300 in bonus bets. I've seen 150, I've seen 200, I've seen 250, never seen 300. But if you put down that $5 bet as a first-time customer, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets if it wins. As far as bets are concerned, Tigers and Mariners game 5 on Friday. It's at Seattle, but Tarek Skubal's pitching and elimination games, anything can happen. I would stay away from putting anything down on that. If you want a good bet, take the Steelers against the Browns on Sunday. The Steelers are favored by 5.5. I think the over-under is something like 30. The Browns' offense stinks. They always play bad against the Steelers. I bet the Browns to lose. To me, that's an easy bet. That's a safe one. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today to get started. Shout out again to everybody who gave us questions from the Insiders group, and shout out to all of our everydayers. Everydayers, make sure you're hitting, if you're not an everydayer, I should say, hit the bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. You never miss a reaction video, you never miss breaking news videos, all those kind of things, and hit the auto download on audio so you always get it into your feed if you're catching up on old episodes. And then if you want to be an insider as well, check out joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. That's where we solicited all of our questions too, and we chat with them when news happens, during games, and as well as do bonus content like our video chat we did on Wednesday. So that was a lot of fun. Do you have something to say, Jeff?
Yeah, I was just going to cut you off real quick. You're saying you were thinking about what team. So while you were doing your ad read, I went into Fangraphs and looked at starting pitching fit for the year, team by team. Mm-hmm. And the 4 teams that kind of popped in the bottom 10. San Diego, because we know they're losing multiple starters, and they were bottom 10 there to begin with. Toronto, again, losing multiple starters, and we're bottom. I think all these teams are actually bottom 7.
Who's Toronto losing?
I have to
Bieber,
look.
I don't know if Bieber's opting out. Like I don't know if he did enough to opt out. That's a good.
Yeah,
that's
he may not have. Bassett's a free agent who had a good year for them, and then I know of the like Scherzer is out and someone else is out.
Yeah, and Scherzer's career is probably over.
So and then the Los Angeles Angels, because they have GM. This job is probably on the line, and then the Baltimore Orioles, who might also have a GM whose job is on the line. Who
Baltimore is the one I think is going to constantly come up, because we did have a question from an insider about Adley Rutschman, and you and I were debating it off the air. I think that was Steven who asked that, who's one of our new insiders. I don't think Rutschman is going to be it.
They're not going to low. Like it just
Carl, that was Carl.
Yeah,
sorry, Carl asked that question. Not only that, but I just don't think, like you were saying, that you don't think Samuel Basallo is a catcher. No. So that makes it hard for them to trade Rutschman, and they need both those guys in the lineup to go where they're going to go.
Basallo was really bad this year. Like really, he was. Offensively and defensively, he struggled in that transition.
What hurts them is that Tyler O'Neill had a terrible year. Yeah. So he's not going to opt out of that deal. He's going to stick because he was terrible. So I don't really know who they have. Like their bench is Ryan Mountcastle and Dylan Carlson. Do you know who their
top 2 hitters were this year by WRC plus?
Ryan O'Hearn and
you got it. And you'll know the other one. Come on, they're a pair. So Laureano. They trade them both to the Padres.
Oh, that's right. Good Lord, man.
And that's the 2 guys. Like,
they need pitching. Like Trevor Rogers was good at the end of the year.
Who is the problem? Like, Jackson Holiday, 96 WRC plus. Kobe Mayo, 95. Rutschman got better as year went on, 91. You mentioned Tyler O'Neill. He's at a 91. Remember when Colton Cowser was a big deal? 83. Ryan Mountcastle, remember 80. Like, they need it all. But yeah, I think San Diego's interesting but then again, I don't think they really have a lot of anything left. Like that is a team that's been stripped barren.
And you also can't try to trade for who's the one outfielder that everyone keeps talking about from them. You've got Colton Cowser. Who was the other one? We got Kobe Mayo. Kobe Mayo's interesting
for a few years.
But Keston Hierstad just can't stay healthy. Yeah. He's got all kinds of injury issues. That's a bad way to go. I would look at someone like Atlanta. Atlanta needs a lot of pitching. But I don't know if
They figured it out in the second half, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, they did. I guess your guys
really
got healthy. I guess
and they got healthy.
The other teams you could look at are like the Cardinals. Like the Cardinals they're probably going to move Sonny Gray and Miles Michaelis is old.
I mean, they're not a full rebuild, but
that's a team. That's a team you could target, I think. But are you going to trade Joey Cantillo for Lars Nootbaar? Like that doesn't move the needle for me.
You know me, I like Lars Nootbaar, but yeah,
does that move the needle for you though? Does that do enough for you? Like that's not that's not an impact bat. That was the question.
I guess this past year he was sub average. Gosh, it's looking at their team. I know someone brought up Ivan Herrera in our comments the other day. He's only 25. They're not trading him.
Yeah.
Burleson, I really have to dive deep on. And
you said the Padres. The Padres also don't have any hitters to trade either. Like they're losing Luis Arraez and
I got one for you. Would you trade Cantillo for Brendan Donovan, who has been really consistently above average production? Like that's the thing. Like that's the guy. If you're going to go talk to St. Louis, he's got 3 years of service time, so you're going to get him for 26 and 27. But he's been consistent. He can play some outfield, play some second base. He's if you're going to call St. Louis, and one of our everydayers, Jiv. I'm sorry, guy. Who's in there? It's like this is the guy you would target because he's 28, and if they're going through a mini rebuild, he's probably got their most value.
Brendan Donovan is like the rich man's version of Daniel Sheeman. Like he plays all the same positions. He's a better defender, and he's a much better hitter. But he doesn't have a lot of power. Like he's a guy who's only going to hit you 10 to 15 homers max. I'm not saying you should turn. I'm not saying you should turn your nose up at him, but I'm not sure that's like the way you want to be aggressive. So it's going to be a debate all offseason long. I think that's going to be a topic among fans. I think it's going to be a question at the winter meetings for Cleveland because Cleveland did have good pitching this year. A lot of teams do want good pitching, and the Guardians are going to keep being asked if they need how they're going to improve their hitting and if they're going to at least bring in an external option. So this is going to be something we come back to, I think, all offseason, especially the team. Let's move on to our next question. And this is a little lengthy one because it's got multiple layers to it. But Drew said, I'm going to give him the full quote here. Considering the mass disappointment among the fan base, which I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
And the ownership's complete failure to build around a hometown hero. I wouldn't call it a failure. But he wants to know, is there any chance that there's a little more spending or aggressiveness this offseason? He brought up the plain dealer ad, which I think is goofy anyway, because the Dolans have not owned the team for 76 years. And there's already a pathway for Blitzer to own the team. So it's like there's no one else to sell to. But he brought up like the CBA negotiations, all that kind of stuff. So is this an offseason that the team could get aggressive? And I will say this. I think there are some scenarios here, and there's going to be math and money working against me. I realize that. But there are some cases to be made. Okay? Paul Dolan does know his time as the owner is coming to a close if Blitzer sticks around. If there's no John Sherman thing popping up with the Royals or whatever. So his time as the majority owner is coming to a close. There is the Jose thing. They are coming off a good year. And the CBA is expiring next year. So there could be some market factors that do benefit the Guardians.
The CBA thing would make them 100% less likely to do it because there's uncertainty.
See, I don't agree with that. Well, it depends on how the free agents react to it. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to do it in the form of free agency, but
when there's been uncertainty, they sit like throughout the whole time they've owned this team.
Everybody's going to react differently. But I think there's a case to be made given where the Guardians are at. Like the core is here. You've got DeLauder up now if he can stay healthy. You've got Jose. You've got the pitching. You've got guys coming like Bazana and maybe Ralphie, whoever. I think there is a case to be made given the fact that his ownership time. We've seen this, and I'm not saying the money's the same, the market's the same.
I don't think he cares like other owners do, though, dude. Like he's not willing to lose money. They've never been willing to lose money. This isn't a Seedler who's dying.
Great.
Well, it's like, he wants to win, but this is not someone this family is not worth billions, unlike what Google says. It's a small market team.
There is that. All right.
And they can't afford to lose the millions of dollars every year. I think most of their money is wrapped up in this team. So, I've got other points to make on it too, but I don't think, I know. I don't think he's quite a Mike Ilitch situation here.
All right, we'll talk more about that when we come back. If the Guardians have the recipe to be aggressive this offseason, if they will. We'll talk about coaching versus talent, what matters more. And if we have time, we'll get into who some of our offseason targets might be.
What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rouget Go Long. This is exactly where Rouget Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. It combines 2 doctor-trusted medications. That's what I always love to see. Doctor-trusted. Trust your doctors, trust your science. And 1 dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. This dinosaur knows all about hard bones, right? Yep. See? It's stuck. So ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to RUGIET.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you.
A lot of crazy things happening in Major League Baseball during the postseason. If you want to keep up with it all, head on over to Locked On MLB. Once you finish watching Locked On Guardians, our MLB game night, we'll break it all down for you every game, every night till a World Series champion is crowned, and you'll get insights from the local hosts and experts on the team that you won't get with national coverage. So go check that out when you're finished over here. I listen to it every day because it keeps me up to date on all the stuff that's going on, and I like hearing what individual hosts are saying about their teams that I will not get from the national show, to be honest. Yep. So real quickly to wrap up on where I was at with the
and then I'll clarify my point better.
Yeah, I know you said it's not like an Illich, it's not like a Seidler, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's exactly the same.
Like, because he doesn't have the money that those ones have. Like, there is the legacy of what you're going to give your kids. I know once you sell the team, there is that as well, that you'd have that. But I think,
that's what I think is the difference here for Paul. It could be the difference. I'm saying it will be. I'm saying it has an opportunity to be. Is that he could spend some of this money and still have something left to leave because he's going to be out of his majority shares in a couple of years. So you will recoup that money. And I know you're saying he's not going to take a loss, and maybe he won't. He probably won't.
Does he have the liquidity to do that? Like, that's the other question.
That's the question. That is the question.
That's kind of more not as much does he care or how invested is he. Is there the liquidity? I don't think there is. I got to be honest.
Or do you are you comfortable telling David Blitzer, hey, I know we said coming in you weren't going to contribute as much to the payroll, because he did say that. People are asking, like, what's with the payroll? Paul Dolan said from day one that David Blitzer was not going to spike their payroll significantly. And I think a lot of that has to do with Ballpark Village still, and he's going to be pushing towards assets for that. Do you tell him, hey, now's the time to pad the payroll a little bit and help us out? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think the CBA makes it interesting because I don't know how the free agents are going to react. Are you going to be are you a free agent? Are you more likely to say, I'm comfortable taking a 1-year deal at a higher annual average value because I don't know what things are going to look like in a couple of years, given the CBA, or do you want that long term? I mean, if it were me going into next season without a for sure CBA, I might say, you know what? Instead of taking 3 years, 50, I'll take 1 year, 25, because
no, you don't want to do that at all. If with the uncertainty, with it looking like owners are going to go hard.
Depends on your age.
It looks like this is going to be a hard lockout situation. The chances are that the overall ability to get those multi-year contracts is going to come down. It's going to be hard.
Right, exactly. So that could put the Guardians in a situation where they can give.
That's why a player wants to get multi-year now and is not going to settle for less.
Well, they'll have to take what they can get. I mean, and they're also going to get collusion on that. But yeah, all right.
Well, I got to make one. Okay. I didn't get it. I only got to kind of interrupt you there. The other thing we got to comment, though, on this, too, is when you're looking at the full scan economics of it, arguably in the last 7 to 8 years, the last 2 years are probably the least amount of revenue the organization has gotten because of the changes to TV money. That also shakes things up, and that's always the bugaboo with all of this is they went from getting somewhere between 50 to 70 million in TV money and I was saying, hey, attendance doesn't matter because the TV money is the driver, to they're going to get probably somewhere between 10 to 20 million from TV this year. Like it's very low. It's a huge change. That's why it was kind of shocking when they I got to be honest, they didn't drop payroll. And then to go back, we talked about how Blitzer isn't helping them.
That's a good point.
And like they kept payroll the same and tried to and it doesn't always work out. Like there's another world where, let's say, Santana says, no, I got to deal with Seattle. He signs there. Cleveland signs Polanco, and hey, they're like, it's the downside of dumpster diving. A lot of teams do it, but it has not worked out for them. But there's a world where they ended up with Torres and Polanco instead of Santana, and then it looks a world difference with it. So that's part of it. But then the other thing to say too is the big loss here is John Sherman. Like when John Sherman was here, he said, yes, let's increase the payroll. I'll help you with this. And then remember, when Sherman decided to go by the Royals, part of the team was put in escrow, and it took them years to find someone who was willing to be a minority owner with the option to buy.
Give those shares back to Sherman. Yeah.
So it's a situation where even if there wasn't a thing in place, they've been trying to sell this team and set up ways to sell this team for about a decade now, and there have not been a lot of people stepping up to do it. So that's also fine.
And, Blitz, like you've mentioned multiple times too, Blitzer has his hand in so many sports franchises. Like if he's going to go all in here and help you out, he's going to have to
sell other stuff. He doesn't have the liquidity.
He's going to have to reduce. Yeah, he's another guy. Yeah, he's going to have to reduce his portfolio a little bit. All right, we got at least one more question I want to get to. Let's see if we can get to two. If we can get this wrapped up. But Steven, who is one of our new insiders, asked about the nature of function of nature versus nurture when it comes to coaching and player performance, obviously specifically around hitting. How much of it is player capabilities versus poor assistance from coaching? He's trying to understand the offense could expect to improve if entirely new coaching staff is brought in with a better approach. And this is that situation of tools and traits you're targeting, right? For years, this GM or the draft team went after the Stephen Kwans, the Tyler Freemans, those kind of guys, and they thought, we're going to help these guys hit for more power. And that didn't work. And they changed course this past draft, whether that was because it wasn't working or because the draft was very bad and they decided to swing for upside. I don't know. That's something I think we'll have to ask. I want to ask Jeff Ponce from Baseball America at some point this offseason. He might have more insight into that. But it depends on how you're giving. Like you can't, this is the age old question of you can't ask a chef to make a Wagyu steak out of ground chuck roast. Like that's just not how it works. I think there is a level of guys have to have the skills and the tools and the traits, and pitch selection, pitch recognition is hard. It's one of the hardest things to do as a hitter, especially in this day and age of hitting. And approach matters, as we've seen. Like if approach was easy to fix, John Kenzie Noel would be Albert Bell. Like he literally would be. Probably wouldn't be punching people in the face or running over Fernando Vina because he's a nice guy. But
yeah, I mean he's a better athlete than Bell. Like I think that's the one thing we always forget that people forget with Noel is just give that guy is if it doesn't work out.
Okay, so
he should go play for the Browns. He can go play defensive end.
Yeah, when they trade Myles Garrett, sure. Yeah, I think it's hard to say. Like I do think there's an element there of you are trying to squeeze so much blood out of a turnip as you can, but that's when you get the Stephen Kwan sometimes where you do see those bumps that he's had that have been good, but you also have other things like, the Noels and who's other guys that are high contact, like Brian Rocchio, like contact rate. That sounds great. Everyone's talking about how great he is.
Alex Call, who found success elsewhere, were that type that they
They were, and that's the other side of it. Cleveland did not have a chance to give Clement playing time, and who knows if he would have developed here. But he had those traits. Because like we said before, you can't have a guy and say, well, he makes contact 90% of the time, so his hit tool is a 70 grade. No, that's not true because impact quality matters, and it's hard to teach impact.
Yeah, and the call situation, it's like it was a numbers game. Sometimes people forget he was here, but it's like he got his small look. At the same time, Nolan Jones kind of got his first look, and Will Benson got his. It was just he got caught in the numbers game, and he wasn't a high pick for this team, like unlike the other two, and that stuff does matter. I will say this: if you want to go a negative on this, the one thing that maybe points to some small
Jeff, always negative.
Always negative. For the most part, I think like hitting coaches, it's just, I mean, listen, a few years ago, I made the case for why ever Mangalides should be the manager instead of before they hired Stephen Vogt, because Atlanta hits everything and everyone develops. And since then, that entire hitting staff has been fired. So like, who knows? But
you just never know.
But the one side that is like, you're like, hey, the one thing that makes me kind of stop, pause, and look is how many guys have gone down to AAA and had some improvement. Now, the other side of that is it could just be it's a low stress environment where players feel comfortable making adjustments on the fly and not feeling like their career is on the line. I've always talked, it feels like Rocchio is one of those guys. And the same thing when Gimme was here, certain guys look like they're pressing when things aren't going right, we're like very noticeably pressing. Everyone presses when things don't go right. So I don't know if that's necessarily a coaching deficit or if it's just like a place where they feel more comfortable, like, okay, yeah, let's try it. Whereas sometimes at the big league level, especially when you haven't proven yourself, Jimenez had one good year. Like after that, it always seemed like a good week, bad week, good week, bad week. So for some guys, maybe it's more just being in a less high stress environment. Yeah, that's the only thing I can say where I see that. I think I agree with you. It's been a weird few draft years. They've had different guys running it. So we're seeing different approaches. In there, but yeah, they definitely, and that's the thing. Like I know a lot of people are excited by Tommy Hawk stolen bases, and Eric Knapzik had some interesting data that year that Joe Torville, who's now in the org, liked. But like they kept going for guys like that, and we never saw a guy really level up from that group. Like Stephen Kwan found success being who he is, but I don't know if we saw anyone level up.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to get into free agent or trade targets. We're not going to have time today. But I will say, I've got at least 5 names I want to consider for the Guardians this offseason when it comes to free agents. I don't know about trades. I got to look over that. But I'll tease that, and I'll say sometime in the near future, we'll do an episode on the free agent market. And I got 5 names I'm interested in. You got any names on the top of your head, Jeff, that you're interested in? Don't say the names, but do you have an idea of a collection? Because we've talked about a few off air.
I mean, I've got like one guy. It's a really poor market. Like it's not. I don't have.
Wait, no, there's a second guy. There is a second guy you talked about. So it's not all hitters, but there's a second guy you mentioned.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah. I was thinking hitters. Sorry, I was thinking of hitters.
Yeah,
there's like one hitter that stands out for me.
There's one pitcher for sure we both like. I think there's 2 hitters we both like. Depends on what happens this offseason. But all right, so next week we're going to switch things up a little bit. So on Monday's show, it's just going to be Jeff solo, and then we'll be together during the week, and then Friday, I will be solo. So we'll have 3 episodes together next week, and you'll have 2 solo, 1 with each of us. And Jeff, you're talking on Monday, what the draft looks like for the Guardians as of today.
Yeah, just explaining, because it's weird, like how they pick, where they pick, what could affect it. And I'll reveal who I had in my way too early mock draft for them and explain the why. And if you like right-handed power, stay tuned.
Yeah, lots to come. We're not taking any days off here on Lockdown Guardians.
That's the wrong thing. I clicked the wrong
thing. That is the wrong thing.
Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.